How are we going, everybody? Well, back in Melbourne, back in the garden, and I thought I'd come out into the orchard because I've been checking the emails and getting a lot of inquiries about pruning fruit trees and when to prune them. And I know I've gone over it a few times, but I suppose a lot of you have just joined us, maybe haven't gone through the past videos we got on this. So I'm just going to give you a quick rundown with fruit trees, deciduous trees. Basically, most of our variety of fruit that I have here from parts of the world where winters are freezing cold. And as you can see now, well, in Victoria, we're going through a dry spell. Some people call it a drought, which is pretty much what it is. Others don't even want to talk about it. But nevertheless, we haven't got the rain. The soil's still quite warm, and the temperatures, by comparison to about 7 years ago when I got here, we were going through the drought back then, but we had the cool weather still. Now, at the moment, we're going through the same dry spell, but with a higher temperature level, which means the soil isn't really going to sleep. So what does that mean for the fruit trees? Well, because these trees come from different parts of the world where the winters are, covered with heavy snow and frost, they go to a full dormancy phase. So they drop all their leaves, they go to sleep, there's no active growth, and that kicks the tree into the cycle again so it understands. And the microbes in the soil when they're working and integrating with the tree's root system. But in this case here, we're having something quite unusual. We have mini seasons, you could say. You can have a burst of 1 week of hot weather, then another burst of cool weather, but we're not seeming to getting the burst of cool weather with rain. So these hot spells that we are going through is causing the tree to grow and not even go dormant. Now, this one was covered up. That's why it sort of squashed the way it is. And it put on its summer growth, and I broke that. There you go. So I'm going to cut that off. It's put on its summer growth under the foliage. So that is why it's all curved over like that. But in cases where you still got the netting on, just over here, you'll see the summer growth has come through the foliage. And I call this summer growth because that's what happens straight after the tree has fruited. Now, what you'll notice here as well, as I was talking about the different climatic cycles that we're going through, we got another burst of fruit come on here. These are larger and they're looking like they might ripen, and the tree's not going dormant anytime soon. And there are more fruit just over there. Just over here, have a look at these ones. These are a good size. So we've got a couple of good ones here that haven't ripened. This is the second round because we harvested everything. Tree hasn't put on its summer growth that much, which is good, and that's what you want to see. So pruning them now. So what do? Well, with this fruit, we'll leave it on there for now. But what we need to do is go across and prune the trees and take off their summer growth. And that happens through its title summer growth because that's what the growth is, or that's when it happens predominantly. But the prune itself is done generally at the end of summer, even right through autumn as we are now, because you'll find some trees are still holding fruit, like some apples are. I mean, not the second cycle, but even the first ones. So the idea is to actually allow the tree to ripen, pick the fruit, and then prune the tree down. Now, you try and get the prune done closer to the summer period. Let's say it's done in autumn, rather than into the winter period, even though we are heading into it right now. And I've still got trees out there. Do as I say, not as I do. It's not a bad thing, but I'll explain in a second what happens when you do prune very late in the season. So the summer growth is to reduce the amount of vegetative growth that we get, so that green growth that you get in springtime. So by doing it after you've harvested, not too early, because the tree needs to actually finish growing. And if you cut it too early, it'll continue pushing more growth out. So you'll end up getting a second burst of summer growth. Let's go over here and I'll show you what I mean. These trees have still got their growth from summer, quite large in some cases here, like this one here. I'm going to leave this. I'm not going to prune this. Sorry, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I don't have to prune this now. I'm just going to show you what I mean by summer growth and bringing it right down. It's basically taking the height right down just below your arm's reach. So I reach up to here. The old saying, I'm 6.5 foot with my arm up here, it's 8 foot. So realistically, I need to cut down to about this point here, about 6 foot or just under 6 foot. So I'm going to swear in a minute. All right, stop it. All right, so I'm being honest now, just under 6 foot. Right up here, there we are. Anyway, so the idea is to actually cut just below your arm's reach, so that when it does grow again, if you cut it up there, it's going to spike up even higher. And to understand how much growth we had on this tree, just look where the last growth was, the last cut was done. It was done down here. That's a lot of growth there, folks. So I might actually cut this a lot lower. Do some, you know, inspections and investigations. You can see some cuts were done here, and we've got literally almost 2 meters of growth in there. I've taken half of it off, and that's half of me. There's the other half. So it's about bringing the height down and slowing down that green growth that you get in springtime. So the further back you do it through the autumn period, so this time of the year, the better chances you are in slowing it down. It's a bit more detailed than that as far as what happens with the tree, but that's the concept. Cut them early, not right in the heart of summertime when they're still putting active growth on them. Cut them after that. And then in winter, which is what we're going to do a little bit later on, but we'll come over here to this one. So in winter, because we've got a good tree that's behaving, have a look at this. It's dropped all its leaves. This is a plum tree, and we've cut it right open beautifully. What you do in winter is you come in, because you'll still have some growth sitting up here because you've just done your summer prune. You'll come back in and then clean out all these other smaller branches which may not be necessary. So this one's been semi-pruned. We haven't finished with it. This is a plum, and you'll see the cluster buds over here. So to understand the pruning technique on the plum, it's different to your typical apples and pears. They grow these little clusters of flowers together, and that's where the fruit develops. And it'll develop on 2-year-old branches, 1 to 2-year-old minimum, and a little bit old, as you can see, it's happening here as well. So the aim is to actually open up the tree, get rid of all the crossovers, dead wood, and then cut back some of the branches you don't like, as I just explained, but avoid removing the cluster buds and avoid going around and cutting all the small little spikes or branches that you see developing, because most times when they're ugly looking or very condensed and little sort of lumpy like that, that's an indicator to tell you that's going to produce a lot of flowers there, and that's where the fruit's going to come from. So in this case here, there's really not a lot I need to prune off, maybe these long little shoots here, but if I cut them right off, I'm going to lose a year's growth there, which means potentially I'm going to lose the following season's fruiting season's growth. So I need to leave some of these on, but leave them with some, you know, some structural integrity. That is a little bit long. You want to cut it back down to an outward facing bud. The old theory, stick to that. That's growing into the wrong direction. So technically that should just disappear completely. But you know what I'll do? I'm just going to cut it shorter, and hopefully we get this to form the following season. But normally it will happen almost immediately. Look at these. These have just chosen to become flowering buds for us. But you'll do that basically with the plum tree, whereas the apple tree's got a different technique. But that's not the topic here as much. It's not the details of the pruning is what I should be saying. It's more the case that if you haven't pruned your trees down yet for the summer prune, that is, or got the summer growth out of it, it's time to do it, folks. Don't leave it any longer. We've got our workshops that we're doing here as well. So these trees here are dedicated to the patrons and the participants. Well, pretty much any tree that's standing above 6 foot is going to get cut back down. So we're going to teach them that, and if you're not sure how to do it, you can sign up to one of our workshops, or you can just research our history there in our YouTube channel, where there's plenty of fruit tree pruning demonstrations you'll see from myself and other experts as well. So take care of your trees, make sure you prune them, because otherwise you're going to get fruit. You know, you're not going to actually get fruit. You're going to get a lot of growth in springtime. Do not prune late in winter, that top growth. Don't do it all at once. Just to recap before I go, because I know I didn't quite explain it properly. Summer growth has to be taken off early in the season, so before we go into complete dormancy. And then you go inside and do the winter prune, which is the tidy up, getting rid of any dead, diseased, damaged wood on the tree, and open it up as you require, depending on the type of tree you're growing. So summer growth that you've had, time to get it off. Time to get it off, and then we'll come and revisit it later to talk about the pruning techniques on apples, pears, peaches, nectarines, and plums, and so on. Check out our website, vasiliesgarden.com. Now, we are coming up to New South Wales, folks. It'll be at the beginning of July because we're planning to go up to Queensland Garden Show as well. I think it's the 11th, 12th, and 13th of July. So prior to that, we'll be in New South Wales for a couple of days. The exact details I haven't got on hand, but why I'm mentioning that is, A, to come and visit us. B, if you want to get our products, you'll be able to shop soon for click and collect and select the New South Wales location and the one at the Queensland Garden Show. So you'll have two options there, depending on where you live, obviously. So stay tuned for that. Thebby's gone. Davern Park is open. They're fully stocked up, as are all the other outlets in Victoria, folks. So support them because they're supporting you, bringing our great products closer to your door to avoid all the extra handling charges that go on there. We're trying to keep the prices down, keep it simple, stupid, quality products at better prices for you so your garden can thrive, because it's from the soil. Get that right. Because if that's not right, this isn't right, then everything around you isn't right. And we all suffer from something. Maybe not all of us. Maybe all of us. Anyway, look after your health, look after your garden, and look after your plants. From me, Vasily, Baresi.